In 2008, Hewlett-Packard announced a decision to locate a major customer service center in Conway, Arkansas. It was the culmination of a lot of foundation laid by economic developers for years, and that work is still paying dividends. I'm joined by Jamie Gates, Senior Vice President of the Conway Area Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for being with us.
Absolutely. Thank you, Roby.
I wanted to invite you in because last week when everybody was celebrating a $1.1 billion steel mill super project up in northeast Arkansas, you guys actually had a pretty significant announcement in Conway with tech firm Nuvo locating their headquarters there from New York, and you guys got lost in the shuffle on all that. How big was that project for you guys?
It was big for us, and it was big because it's a perfect fit, and they were a great match for our community. Nuvo, a publicly traded company, Arkansas's only 18th publicly traded company, and so that's certainly something that gets our attention and stands out, not in our community, but just in Arkansas, really.
Give me some of the details of the project. How big? What are they bringing to Conway? Where are they located? And all of that good stuff.
You know, I think when they're fully operational in Conway, and we're going to see them move the corporate headquarters really immediately. That work's already begun. We'll see 50 people, really good paying jobs, really looking for some sophisticated labor. And one reason that, you know, it's an especially sweet project for us is it's a good mix. You know, they're going to hire Arkansans. That's already begun in some fashion. But then we're having folks relocate from around the country and around the world, which is fun for us as a community. You know, it complements our growth, and it brings new talent to the Conway economy.
Let's talk about some of the tech firms that are already there. Obviously, Axiom got its start in Conway. There's still a big operation there. You got the Hewlett-Packard plant that I talked about earlier. Now in Nuvo, you've got Privacy Stars, another under-the-radar technology firm. Am I leaving any tech firms out that you guys like to tout in the Conway portfolio?
You know, we do. We've got what I hope is a healthy foundation and diverse with some similarities, but tech companies. We have a group, Rock Pond, that they're in the healthcare space. Cat Squared does some software for feed management in the proteins industry, which is a good fit for Arkansas. Actually, a South African company doing business here now. And a number of these smaller companies. You mentioned Privacy Star, probably an equitably sized project to a Nuvo by the metrics that we would judge, but was only 6 months ago, and also downtown. You know, so quickly the complexion of who we have working and doing those things downtown will be very visible.
Let's talk about what you guys did probably as far back as a decade ago to start laying the foundation for this type of tech firm opportunity in Conway, Arkansas. You built a technology park. There's infrastructure in place. Tell me a little bit of what went into making Conway this hub and attractive place for these tech firms to locate.
Well, I don't know that there's anyone who can still take credit for what the secret ingredient to our success. More than 100 years ago, the Chamber of Commerce and some other folks focused on higher education as our real core area, unique advantage, and actively recruited colleges to Conway. And thankfully, that is an industry that is still very relevant, maybe even the most relevant to compete for today's jobs. And so when you bring a group of young people in every year and then turn them loose 4 years later with degrees, we stand out. We stand out for the educational attainment of our community, for the youth. And then, you know, we've got a proven record with Axiom having grown up in Conway to more than 2,000 employees and then going out and attracting a Hewlett-Packard. And so you've got opportunities, and we've got a critical mass. And so what we see with some of these medium and smaller size companies is now we've got a culture that's beginning to grow, an entrepreneurial kind of a startup culture, and we're starting to see things spin out.
And I know you hate to say that success would breed success, but that's clearly what will happen as you get these significant milestones. Then you just make yourself more attractive for other options. You got other things in the pipeline? I know you're not going to tell me what they are, but you can tell me you got some other stuff in the pipeline.
No, we do, and Conway has a very diverse economy. And, you know, for decades and decades, our least represented industry was natural resources and mining. Well, with Southwestern Energy and the exploration of the Fayetteville Shale, they're really a tentpole in our local economy. For years, we were kind of waiting for that entrepreneurial lift, maybe to see some things spin out of Axiom. Well, what we've seen is Privacy Star leadership, a lot of Axiom alums there. The CEO of Nuvo spent some time as a C-level executive at Axiom. Charles Morgan, an investor in both companies. And so you really, it's been gratifying and fun to watch these things kind of come around over time.
Let's put your economic developer hat on in terms of a state perspective here. The state of Arkansas did land that $1 billion steel mill project up in northeast Arkansas. What do you think, how does it kind of play out now? We've got some legislative action that has to occur. Would you say in economic development circles, they're going to have to find a way to sign off on this deal, or it's going to send a terrible signal that we don't want these kind of projects in Arkansas?
Yeah, well, so, you know, the people of Arkansas, the legislature, we've kind of already had this debate as to what tools do we want to take to market when we seek to attract companies. And, you know, the folks at AEDC did a fantastic job, brought this one home. And this is the first time that we'll be exercising this Amendment 82 tool. And we're going to do due diligence. I think the legislature is going to take their time, exercise the process. But I would be very surprised if it's not broadly supported.
What do you see in terms of how this super project may benefit other areas of the state? I talked with Steve Williams, CEO of Maverick Transportation. That's a Little Rock-based company. He said he might hire as many as 245 new workers to just run trucks and the logistics that's required for just that one plant. What's the ripple effect for something like this, and how does it affect communities outside of northeast Arkansas?
Well, there's maybe no better example than what you just listed, but you know, this is such a labor-intensive and capital intensive just to launch this project. And so you're going to see, you know, vendors of every variety benefit, and those circles are just going to keep spreading throughout the state. And it's also going to, you know, put a message out there in the market that, hey, Arkansas can get these kind of projects done. We can do what we need to do competitively. We can do what we need to do politically. And you're going to see us kind of start to exercise that economic development muscle that some of our neighbors have been using with similar incentives.
Last question for you, kind of generally speaking, what do you think it is that Arkansas has that is so attractive? I've heard, you know, geographic position at times. I've obviously heard we've got some incentives that make things sweet. You're in economic development every single day. What do you think it is that makes projects attractive or attracted to Arkansas?
Well, we do have good tools to attract, and we've got a good team with AEDC. We've got a good team in our communities, selling the community. It's a state that does a good job working together across kind of political boundaries, across different levels of government. It's a team approach. And depending on the industry, you know, for us, a lot of it's driven by higher ed and our demographics. There's some parts in other parts of the state that are really wonderfully located with the river and the interstates and the rail. And so I do think that Arkansas has something for everyone, and it lets us as an economic development team kind of get outside the box and help each other.